Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of The Process. Today, I have my main man, super entrepreneur, Joe Giglietti, with us today. He's going to share with us, guys.
I even wear the T-shirt, man.
Woo! About mindset and vision. And here we go, guys.
Good thing. Most people say, damn, he's got a process.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of The Process.
Damn, he's got a process.
So, Joe, tell the audience a little bit about yourself.
Hey, everybody. My name's Joe, and I am a third-generation real estate guy who fell in love with marketing. And this year, we're on process to close $1 billion in transactions in real estate, primarily from Facebook ads.
Wait, did you just say $1 billion?
Billion with a B. Absolutely. Absolutely.
I love it.
Yeah. So the other thing is I'm married, got 3 great kids. One of my kids at 10 started her first business, went door to door, made $20,000 selling her book door to door, and now travels the country, not the world, speaking. She shared the stage with Tony Robbins, Chicken Soup for the Soul authors. She's done reality shows with Russell Brunson, and yeah, she loves business too. She's a kid entrepreneur. And this last week, we just announced that she's in a bid and trying to purchase Toys R Us out of bankruptcy. So, yeah, we believe in vision around my house.
Go big or go home, right?
That's right. That's right.
She's not trying to buy a toy from Toys R Us. She's literally trying to buy Toys R Us.
Yeah, for a couple $1 billion. Yeah.
Where did she get this stuff from, Joe?
She was reading, she had an e-commerce store, and we saw that Toys R Us went out of business, so we started researching to see maybe we could get the Toys R Us name, and she could take that over. And then she started looking at their financials, and she's like, what were they doing? That was so dumb. They should have blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, well, we could still buy it out of bankruptcy. She said, we can? I said, yeah. She said, how do we do it? I said, let's call your attorney, see if he's interested, right? Picked up the phone, started making some connections, and before you know it, we started working the deal.
That's awesome, man.
Listen, here's what people need to know, David. I mean, I'll just kick it off from the very beginning. You live in the most abundant time that's ever existed in the history of humanity. The technology and the possibilities for you to go anywhere, meet anyone, connect with anyone, and accomplish anything has never, ever even been close to what it is right now. And most of us are wasting it by still living ordinary lives. It's time. Like, wake up. Let's go do something big. Let's make a massive difference. Because my daughter said it this way. We were driving down the road one day, and she was selling her books, and we were going door to door when I told you she sold her 20,000. And we were talking about her business plan, and I said to her, and after that, the sky's the limit. She kind of looked at me. She was 11 at the time. She looked at me. She said, why would you say the sky's the limit when there's footprints on the moon?
Ooh.
And I was like, ding, right? I'm like, no, she didn't, right? And so that's her whole thing now, footprints on the moon. She talks about it in her speeches and stuff like that. And the point she makes is, look, people like Elon Musk who have vision are working on things to try and get to Mars, right? Meanwhile, stuck in our language and in our thinking and the way we operate and the way we set our expectations of ourselves, we're like, the sky is the limit. Ladies and gentlemen, we've been in the sky since what, 1910, 1920, right? It's been 100 years we've been in the sky, and that's been our limits. That is long since past. We're working on Mars now. So if your thinking is still limited to the limitations of thought that were from 1920s language, then you're still stuck in sky thinking. Some of you have went a little bit farther, and you're shooting for the moon, right? Hoping you fly, and now you're in moon thinking, and now you're only in 1960, right? We're in 2018 now. People are trying to get to Mars, so it's time to shift from sky thinking or moon thinking to Mars thinking.
That's deep. Let that sink in for a little. Let's take 5 seconds, take a deep breath, and just let that marinate for a bit there. My man wants to go to Mars, and I love it.
And everybody challenges him on it, right? Like, he started making the spaceships, because I'm right there. I live right by there at Cape Canaveral. And so he started this whole spaceship company, and it was like, okay, in order to do this, we have to be able to like make spaceships take off and then land. And it's like, well, nobody's ever done that before. And he's like, who cares? I'm going to do it. And then like his first 5 fail, and everybody's making fun of him and telling him it can't happen, and he's an idiot and stuff like that. And you know what happens now? Every single ship that takes off, he lands it back down. Now it's down to a science. Nobody questions whether it's going to come back down and land correctly because he's done it so many times now. And it's like, you keep listening to people, like if the people you surround yourself with are people who are constantly naysayers and say, well, it's never been done before, it's not possible. Like, again, they're living in, they said that in the 60s about getting to the moon, right? And so it's just like, guys, ladies and gentlemen, I want to encourage everybody, just like I do my daughter, like, the game has changed. Like, when before have you been able to press a button and get in front of 1 million people?
Ridiculous.
You can do that today with Facebook. All you need is what, $10 per 1,000. So what's that? $1,000. You can probably get in front of 1 million people. Come on.
Insane. Let's talk about your journey and how you first started out in this whole marketing world. I know that you're the real estate king. Any realtor that wants more business needs to get to you as soon as possible. It needs to be a freaking foot race. But just talk about that journey and how that whole thing happened. And I know you go about it a very unique way. Your pricing structure is different than almost anyone I've ever met. And I want to know how you kind of came about that and, let you take it from there.
Okay, so I wanted to travel more with my daughter, which is how it started, because she was speaking, and I thought that was cool. And I thought, hey, instead of like investing in real estate locally, why don't I just like start a digital marketing agency? Because I fell in love with marketing in 2008 and 9-ish when everybody was getting crushed in the real estate crunch. Nobody could buy or sell real estate, quote unquote. And so if you had to learn marketing in order to sell a house. And so I learned marketing to sell houses, right? Because it's like I had to sell the house, or Vito, who I owed 20% to when I was flipping the house, was coming after me, kind of thing, right? So, I mean, not that I couldn't take Vito. He has too many donuts. I do MMA now. He can't handle this. Anyways, that's a different story. So you learn to market, right? And so I started learning to market, and then I fell in love with it because it's so strategic, and it's I don't know why I love it. I just do. I love persuasion. I love marketing. I do. And so, I started listening to that. So when my daughter took off, I'm like, I could run an agency. And I figured out, okay, I'm going to focus on real estate agents. And real quickly, I learned that real estate agents suck at business in general. They pay the $1,500, they get the fee, but they have no idea how to actually sell a house. Nobody teaches that to them. So it's not their fault necessarily. Yeah. They're just taught how to do the operational aspects. And so I made a decision as I saw lots of people wasting a lot of money on leads. I said, look, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to do it so real estate agents only have to pay me when a deal closes. Now, I taught my daughter this a long time ago. People are always willing to pay you more for a result than they are to pay you up front and hope they get the result. That's a big piece. Now, it's a very scary piece to take on as a business. Because because when I took on agents, I just thought I could give them leads, and then when I gave them the leads, they would close them, and when they got paid, they'd pay me. Well, that didn't happen for the most part, right? They got leads, they did nothing, and then called me and said, my leads suck. And my leads didn't suck because we're crushing it with the same leads. So I learned some things in there, but the point is getting paid for, somebody is always willing to pay you more on the back end once they get the money in their hand than they are to pay up front and hope they get the money, right? Yeah. And so what I do with real estate agents is we do all of the lead gen for them, and we do all the lead nurturing and follow-up. So all agents have to deal with is pre-qualified people who are ready to buy or sell their house, and we schedule an appointment for them to meet with them face-to-face. That's when they take the football. So I try and get it as far down the football field as possible so that all they got to do is carry it home.
So all they're doing is running red zone. That's it.
Yep. And that's what they're good at. They got into business to show houses. Right? They didn't get into business to create leads. They didn't get into business to nurture leads. They got into business to talk to Susie who wants to buy a house, right? And so that's what we give them, Susie who wants to buy the house.
I love it, man. It's brilliant, and you're right. You had the vision of saying, okay, here's a problem. Here's what they hate. I'm going to create the exact solution to that, and this is why your business exploded. I remember 2 years ago when we first met, we were talking. I think you went from 0 to 70 clients in like 3 months, something crazy like that, right?
Yeah, it was like 80 in 6 months, but yeah, close
Me.
enough. I'm not that good.
Oh,
but I did get 20 in one weekend once, right, when I tried. But the problem is scale is a real problem. I don't think people everybody's like, oh man, I wish I had that problem. You know what I'm saying? When you get to scale, but it's real. It's painful. It's a struggle. There's assumptions that are there, and you get your butt kicked. And I mean, look here, to use the football analogy again, because I think most people lack vision, right? And really, what's possible, right? But once you get the vision, the mistake that I made many times was I would just try and go. I try and scale immediately. It'd be like, oh, I want to close $1 billion. I'm going to go get 100 agents. And it's like, it's kind of like the guy who's a running back on the, not a running back, a wide receiver on the football field. And their vision is a touchdown.
Yeah.
But they got to catch the football first. Mm-hmm. You got to catch the football, then you got to turn and run with it. And you can't get ahead of yourself and not catch the football. And so in the same way, once you can get a result for one person that's a problem in the market, that's a business in many cases you can scale. Because now you just need to do that again. The problem is entrepreneurs today have so much opportunity in front of them, they get distracted by infinite opportunity. And that's what it is, infinite opportunity, right? Opportunity is infinite right now. If you say, man, the door opportunity only knocks once, that's the stupidest thing I've ever heard. Like, maybe that was true at some point. I don't think so, though. The reality is opportunity is infinite. You're surrounded by it. And the real value in a world where you're surrounded and bombarded by opportunity is focus. And the thing you should focus on is a problem. And once you can solve that problem, then you focus on how do I solve that problem for a lot of people, or for people who it's more valuable to. And then you get in front of them, and that's how you scale, right? And take it to Mars.
I mean, you make it sound so easy, but we both know there's so much that goes on in between those lines. Not only
usually from violating those principles, though, David, right? Usually because I violated that, right? I overcomplicated it.
Yeah, I mean, the biggest thing stopping an entrepreneur is usually himself, right, or herself.
Absolutely.
Yeah, but you have to have the right mindset. This is exactly why I wanted to get you on here, because I knew you would crush it when you talk about vision and mindset. And guys, Joe's just awesome. I mean, I feel like we all should just give him like 2 claps, you know?
No, man, you're the awesome one.
You hear them?
Ladies and gentlemen, I don't know about you, but I don't have a sign like that in my background. That Tash advertising sign is baller.
Oh man. So right, we talked about vision. You mentioned focus. We got to hear a little bit about your story. Like, what do you have going on right now? Like, what is Joe up to this day and age today?
Yeah, so it's interesting once you have vision, and then you say, okay, what do I need to get there? Let's use the Mars example again. I didn't mean for all this to revolve around Mars and football, but nevertheless it is. So when they wanted to get to the moon, there were several scientific laws they had to violate in order to get to the moon. Like, in their thinking at that time for what was a scientific law, they had to violate it. And so when they were talking about how do I get from Earth to the moon, they said, well, how are we going to do this? Or how are we going to do that? And all of it was impossible to them. And so they kept getting stuck in their thinking. They were taking their present beliefs about the reality of the universe and putting it into their future situation being on the moon. Does that make sense so far, David?
That makes sense.
And so a lot of people do that. Like, they think about, oh, I could never be a millionaire because, blah, 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 blah. And they take their present problems, I don't have money right now to spend on advertising, and they impute it on their future and therefore can't do it. Well, they were doing the same thing. The engineers at NASA were doing the same thing when they were given the challenge by John F. Kennedy to get to the moon. Now, for those of you who don't believe we went to the moon, just get over yourself. You're wrong. Anyways, so what they had to do, another very smart engineer, by the way, came in and said, you guys are looking at this problem completely wrong. What you have to do is you need to place yourself on Mars. When do you want to be on Mars? Place yourself on Mars and then ask yourself, how did I get here? And you work your way backwards from the solution, not forward from your present problems. right? And so when they're sitting there like, okay, well, how do we get from the spaceship to actually the moon, right? Because it's like the spaceship's going around. It's like, is that going to land? And how does that get back up? And all that kind of nonsense, right? So that was problem number one. And then once they solved that problem, they're like, okay, well, how are we actually going to stop the spaceship so that we can whatever their problems were, right? I don't know. I'm not an engineer. But nevertheless, they had to work their way backwards through all the problems. Well, you need to do the same thing. So what am I working on? Well, I'm working on closing $1 billion in 2018 and $10 billion in 2019 in real estate. And I make a little bit less than 1% of that when deals close, just to kind of give you some perspective. So what happens is I'm looking at that and I'm like, okay, what do I need? And the initial thought is like, well, I need 1,000 real estate agents at 1,000 a month, and then their ad spend and blah, 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 blah. And that's just the dumb way to look at it. That's how I started the year, right? Now I'm like, I need 10 brokers who each have 10 agents who all want to close $100 million this year. That's what I need, right? That gets me to $1 billion. And so it's like, because I just do 10 million a piece per agent per year. That's only $1 million a month, and our agents can do 2, 3, 4 million a month, just with $1,000 in ad spend. So the point is you start with that. What's the ideal situation? Like, how did I get here? What would be the easiest way? And my answer is, well, brokers, right? And then another level down, I was like, okay, I could do it all myself, or I could teach other people how to do it. So then I was like, okay, if I teach other people how to do it and then partner with them in that, then everything they're closing, I'm partnering with them for, and then there's another couple billion right there, right?
So
and then I go another level down and say, well, I could do it all inside of my company, right? And then there's creating my own agency, which I have, right? And the employees and blah, blah, blah. And then the next level down would be as an individual agent. Like, how would one person as an individual real estate agent close $1 billion in real estate? Like that, and it's like, can't, right? It's just like, there's not enough hours in the day to do that, right? But I can build a local team here of 10 of my own agents or 20 of my own agents who are then doing it that I'm making a percentage of. So there's all these different levels at which we can do it, and it's one. The task is the same for all of these different levels. The task is still the same, right? Whatever I'm doing locally for myself as the acorn, right? And I'm teaching these 10, those are the same principles that I'm going to teach to the 10 who's my broker at the top that his team needs to know to run his own team. So all I'm doing is that natural discipleship multiplication thing, and that's how we're going to get to 10 billion next year. So
I love it, Joe. I love it. So for any of our listeners that want to join you on this mission to get to $1 billion, I know you did say you do take on a few people as coaching clients. I know you open up several times during the year. How does someone get in touch with you if they want to join you on this insane but probably going to happen mission?
Wow, you're going to let me pitch it, huh? That's awesome. Thank you, man. Listen, if you want to check that out, that's not really whatever you're doing in your business, right? Whatever you're doing, I want to encourage you to think bigger, to imagine yourself at the goal. And I want to end with something too, David, to imagine yourself at the goal and then work your way backwards and get a simple plan for how to execute that and figure out what needs to happen on a daily basis and then commit to finishing that on a daily basis. That's how I got from 0 to 80. I said I need 5 appointments a day. 5 real estate agent appointments a day. I got that no matter how much it cost me. It didn't matter because I knew once I got it, I'd be home free. And I was. It was absolutely true. I needed 5 appointments a day. That's probably true for most of you. You could talk to 5 customers a day who are interested in your product. You'd probably kill the game. Unless you're selling like ice cream cones or something, and then like you need a better business model. Or you need 5 customers who do 1 million ice cream cones a month kind of thing, right? But anyways, where can you find out about me? Billionsinrealestate.com. That's billions with a B in the plural, right? Because we ain't stopping at one. Billions with a B in realestate.com is where you can check me out. But David, I want to share something that will help everybody, whether they're interested in real estate or not. Okay? Am I going too long?
No, you're good. You're good.
I'm good?
Here
it is, guys. This is what got me going. I was listening to Peter Thiel. David, you've heard me say this before.
Yeah.
I was listening to Peter Thiel. He was in an interview with Tim Ferriss. And Tim Ferriss says, how do billionaires think different than regular people? And Peter Thiel turned to Tim Ferriss and he said, what are your 10-year goals? I want you to think about it right now. And everybody who's listening to this, I want you to think about this. In 10 years, where do you want to be? Where do you want to be financially? Let's talk about that from a business perspective, right? Where do you want to be in 10 years? Now, here's what billionaires do different than regular people. You got it in your head what you want to do in 10 years, David? Where you want to be?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, now you ask yourself the question, what would it take for me to do it in 6 months?
Every time you drop that line, I'm like, wow. Wow.
You can. You can. Now, I failed in my first 6 months hitting my goal. I did. But I was so much farther along than I ever would have been had I not applied that level of thinking to it. So you got to do that same moon level thinking, break down exactly what you need to get there in very simple steps so that it's probably a number under 10 and like 10 customers, 10 this, 10 that. And then once you figure that out, you just go after that high level stuff. And that's how you hit your 10-year goals in 6 months.
Whew. Joe, that was fire, my friend. Thank you so much, guys. We will catch you next time on the process. And as we do in every episode, we break it down and we'll actually have an SOP of mapping out exactly the process that Joe just gave you to get to Mars, guys. Stop thinking about the moon. Stop thinking about the sky. Elevate your level. And we will see you next week.
Thanks, guys.